Hey guys, Jenna here. I wanted to talk to you today about Console essential oil. So, you guys, this oil is a beautiful, beautiful blend. And if you haven't tried it yet, I really encourage you to. This one is geared for feelings of being fearful, worried, sad, grieving, ashamed, just any of those feelings of sadness or grief, right? And this oil is awesome. It's one that we use a lot actually with my children. So usually when my kids are having a hard time going to sleep at night, or if they're feeling anxious, what I've identified recently is that they feel a little bit anxious about going to school, right? There's stuff going on with friends or teachers or things that have made them feel a little uncomfortable. They're stressed about it. They're worried or anxious, and they're minor things. Obviously no major problems, or I would be intervening, but things that are just making their childhood emotions feel anxious, right? And so usually what I'll do at bedtime is I'll ask them which oil they need, and I'll hold out Console and Peace, and I'll just let them smell both, and whichever one each kid is drawn to, that's the one that we'll use. And it works so beautifully well. There was a season probably 3 or 4 weeks ago where my daughter, I gave her a bottle of Console in the Touchline, so it's already pre-diluted, and I gave that to her and let her just take it in her backpack, and she could pull it out anytime at school when she was feeling a little bit worried. So it was very empowering to her as a 6-year-old, right, to be able to have something. Whether she actually used it or not at school, I don't know, but the fact that she had it and knew she could use it and knew how it would make her feel was very empowering to her. And that to me is empowering as a mother, that I had a tool to give her, right? So we use it at bedtime when they're feeling nervous or anxious or having a hard time sleeping, because that difficulty sleeping is coming from the anxiety of what they're anticipating the next day at school, right? So we use this at bedtime a lot. This blend is wonderful for deep emotional needs as well. So, for example, if you have lost a loved one, or if you're going through an intense grieving period, maybe a completion of a relationship, right? Loss of a friendship, a loss of a divorce, maybe something to that effect, or the physical loss of a loved one in terms of death. This can be very comforting. It doesn't fix it, obviously, right? But you have to go through the grieving process. But this is a tool that you can use to support you during that, where it just helps you feel a bit more lifted, a bit more able to feel hope, to feel some hope for happiness, right? There's just some beautiful things that come from this oil. And it works that way because you guys remember Nicole Stevens' video that talked about the different chemical components of these essential oils. This blend Console is high in monoterpenes and alcohols, and so those essential oils will help promote those more positive feelings. So that's why it works so well. It comes in the doTERRA Touchline, of course, that's already pre-diluted for children, or for like I like to use that one more so as my perfume. This non-diluted blend, sorry, my brain went blank there. I use this mostly in the diffuser, and it just takes a couple of drops. It's very potent, but it's so beautiful. So I will use both of them just depending on what needs I have. So I mentioned that this blend is wonderful for deep emotional needs, but also, you guys, just for the day-to-day stuff. I mentioned with my kids, but I'll share a story with you. Recently, I've been doing a food cleanse. I've gotten a little bit out of control with my eating. I'm not feeling in alignment with my values and my beliefs about the way that nutrition should be, right? I haven't been living into that. And so I recently started a food detoxification program where I've gone to really simple, basic foods, adding things in one at a time. And so about 3 days into that, we were sitting at dinner, and I'm sitting there with my family because I want to be with them at dinner time, but they're eating this wonderful meal that I made for them and couldn't eat, right? You guys maybe have been there if you've ever done something like this before. And I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling honestly kind of lonely and sad because I couldn't eat the food that I wanted to. And it sounds a little bit lighthearted, but you know how powerful food is in our lives. And I had gotten to a point in my life where I was using food for comfort. I was using food for companionship. I was using food for an escape, right? Food had all sorts of irresponsible roles in my life, and I was trying to break that habit. But in the meantime, 3 or 4 days into this, I'm feeling just lonely without the food, right? And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try Console. And so I got up because I was a little bit irritable with my family. I was kind of snapping at them, and that's not how I wanted to show up for them, right? It's not their fault that I've chosen to do something and I'm experiencing some emotions from it. So I wanted to shift my behavior. So I went and got the Console, and I just did that doTERRA Touch Console on my hands, and I just smelled it for a couple of minutes. And then I went back in and we finished dinner and we went on to bedtime. And you guys, the shift was so cool. It wasn't this like massive turnaround, but I just found myself patient. I found myself loving. I found myself showing up for my children the way I prefer to at bedtime, rather than being grouchy and run by my emotions of feeling lonely and deprived that I couldn't eat the food that I wanted to. I was able to show up patient and loving and silly and fun and snuggly and all the things I would rather be at bedtime. And for me, that pattern interrupter, right? The thing that shifted me out of that attitude was first making a choice that I wanted to be in control of my emotions, and then two, using a tool that I know works and having that help of the essential oils to interrupt the pattern that I was headed down and choose a different ending. And so whatever the needs are, big or small, this essential oil can be a really great support to you in your emotional well-being. So give it a try. Let me know how it goes.